Hey everyone, this is Chad. Thanks for coming to Record Wargaming. Today we have a match between Talha and Miles. Talha brought the Necrons, led by a Shard of Satan, and Miles brought the Ultramarines, being led by Roboute Guilliman. But before we get into this, if you'd like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell so you're notified of our upcoming content, join the Horde. And now, stay tuned for the show, folks. Here we go. Alright, rolling to see who's going to drop first.
6 is me. I will deploy for second. I will have to deploy second.
Okay.
First drop.
Alright, here we go.
Mission briefing. The time to crush your enemy once and for all is at hand. Maintain a strong rear guard while your vanguard forces sweep past the foe's flanks to surround them and cut off their means of escape. Then, let the slaughter begin. Primary objectives. Victory points are awarded for the controlling objective markers as follows. Take and hold. Progressive objective. Several strategic locations have been identified in your vicinity. You are ordered to assault these positions and hold them at any cost. At the end of each player's command phase, the player whose turn it is scores 5 victory points for each of the following conditions they satisfy, for a maximum of 15 victory points. They control 1 or more objective markers. They control 2 or more objective markers. They control more objective markers than their opponent. The primary objective cannot be scored in the first battle round. Secondary objectives. In this mission, when players are selecting their secondary objectives, they can, if they wish, choose for one of them to be surround them. Surround them. Progressive and endgame objective. You are ordered to encircle the enemy while ensuring that none of their forces break through your defenses. Surround the foe completely, let none escape. Score 4 victory points at the end of your command phase and at the end of the battle if you control both the objective markers in your deployment zone and 1 or more objective markers in your opponent's deployment zone. Score 8 victory points instead if you control all 4 objective markers that are in deployment zones. This is page 44 of the Grand Tournament 2020 handbook. Starting off with 2,000 points of Necrons, I am running a battalion with the Sotek dynasty, so my warriors get to rapid fire at 18 inches instead. We're starting right here, the blob of 2 Locust heavy destroyers with the Gauze destructors, the single shot weapons, along with 2 Cryptothralls and a Plasmancer. We have the Doom Scythe this time instead of the Night Scythe, and 3 Canoptic Scarabs just sitting in a little swarm. Right here in the back, we have 2 more of the same loadout Locust Heavy Destroyers, a big blob of 20 Necron Warriors with Gauze Reapers, and a Canoptic Reanimator. We then have 1 squad of 6 Scarabs, another blob of 10 Warriors with Flayers, along with my Overlord, who is going to be my Warlord. He has the Sotek Dynasty Warlord trait, so whenever I spend a command point on a 5-up, I get it back. That's capped to once per turn. Then we have the 2 heavy destroyers, the same loadout, so I'm running 3 squads of 2. Another blob of 10 warriors with Gauze Flares instead of Reapers. A squad of 6 Scarabs, and then a Transcendent Satan. For the purposes of the Satan, I am choosing Transdimensional Thunderbolt and Antimatter Meteor as my powers of the Satan. And the Satan also has Cosmic Tyrant, and so he is going to be able to cast 2 Satan powers per turn instead of just 1. For secondaries, I am running While We Stand, We Fight, along with Purge the Vermin and Raise the Banners High. And that's 2,000 points of Necrons. Oh, also, I have a Hexmark Destroyer in reserves. He is going to drop down, and he also has the Relic, the Gauntlet of the Conflagrator, which I spent 1 command point to get. So I'm starting at 11 command points with 1 model in reserves and everything else on the board.
Hi, I'm Miles, and I've brought 2,000 points of Ultramarines to battle against the Necron Xenos scum. Starting in reserve, I have a unit of 5 Devastators with grav cannons inside of a drop pod. The Sergeant has a grav gun with a power fist. Next we have a unit of 5-man Intercessors. Sergeant has been upgraded to a mastercrafted bolt rifle. Next we have Marnius Calgar himself with his Victrix Honor Bodyguard and a 3-man squad of aggressors with auto Boltstorm gauntlets. Then we have a 10-man Intercessor squad, all with bolt rifles. Sergeant with a power fist and also upgraded to a mastercrafted bolt rifle. Then the Primarch of the 13th Legion himself, Roboute Guilliman. He is the Warlord, of course. Then another 10-man unit of Intercessors, Sergeant with power fist and mastercrafted bolt rifle. Then we have a Repulsor Executioner with the Heavy Laser Destroyer, Icarus Rocket Pod, and a Primaris Tech Marine who has my relic, the Seal of Oath. And that is 2,000 points of Ultramarines.
Secondaries?
My secondary objectives for this game are thin their ranks, assassinate, and shock and awe.
Well, let's see who's going first.
Oh, you want me to pop that back in?
Yep.
As the winner of the die roll, I will opt to take the first turn.
Alright, so Ultramarines, turn 1. Here we go.
Alright, recap of Ultramarines turn 1. Before the battle, I used the stratagem to redeploy some units, so I moved the Repulsor and the Tech Marine and Guilliman into the middle. At the end of I moved forward the aggressors and Calgar, and then move phase, the drop pod came down, the Devastators popped out, used the Sons of Guilliman stratagem, and they destroyed the 2 Locust Heavy Destroyers that were in the corner.
They're over here, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Then with 2 Intercessor squads, the Intercessor squad near Guilliman, they did some damage to the 20-man squad of warriors, killing some and they get back up, back and forth. This other squad shot at some scarabs. They took out 2 bases, but 1 came back. And then the Repulsor Executioner took out the Reanimator with the Laser Destroyer. Did some chip damage on some Locust Heavy Destroyers, and then fired a volley of bullets at the 20-man squad, killing 6. And that is it. That is the end of turn 1 for Ultramarines. Next, turn 1 for Necrons.
Bottom of round 1, the Necrons ended up advancing on this front here, so I'm holding this objective as well as these 2 in the back. I had the Cryptothralls as well as the Necron Warriors raise the banners on each of the 2 backline objectives. Additionally then, the Scarabs have pushed up, so they're going to probably be a thorn in the Ultramarines side next turn, and everything else then effectively tried to just kill the Executioner. So between the Doom Scythe and 4 Locust Heavy Destroyers, the Repulsor Executioner is now down to 5 wounds remaining. Took 11 damage overall. Additionally, between the Plasmancer, some Tesla from the Doom Scythe, and some very aggressive Scarabs, the Devastator squad is down 3 members with the remaining 2 members locked in combat. Hopefully that combat gets cleared up next round, and that is the end of the round. I burnt through command points this turn, went from starting 11 all the way down to 4 by doing more Satan powers, re-rolling hits, auto-passing wounds, and trying to just kill that gosh darn tank. At least he's bracketed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So we got that going for me, I guess. But yeah, turn 2 Ultramarines starts next.
Alright, end of Ultramarines turn 2. I had the Devastators fall back from the Scarabs and shoot, because being Ultramarines I can fall back and shoot at a -1 into their Crypto Thralls, and we took one out. The Scarab's probably going to charge and pin them against the storm, or against the drop pod. Then I used the Power of the Machine Spirit stratagem on my Repulsor Executioner to make it at its top bracket, and shot everything into the Doom Scythe, but it was mostly a waste because the Laser Destroyer took it out in one shot. Or it's 2 shots. Then Calgar and his aggressors, with some fire support with the old intercessors, took out the 20-man squad of warriors in the middle. Now there's just 2 Locust Heavy Destroyers facing them. Guilliman made a push up midfield to take that objective. Before that, he did some chip damage into the Satan with his by shooting, and then charged the Scarabs, killing all but 1 base. Then the other 2 intercessors in the backfield volleyed everything into the 10-man warrior squad near the Overlord, taking it out. All the warriors, most of the warriors have been dealt with. There's still some in the backfield. But Guilliman is trying to make a push towards the Satan and claim that objective for the Emperor. As for secondary objectives, still tallying for within their ranks. Shock Tactics, I have not pushed him off an objective yet, because that one is still contested. And I haven't killed any characters. So still 0 so far.
Alright, on the Necrons, turn 2.
Bottom of round 2, I made a tactical blunder and forgot to fall back my Scarab, which means that everything that I had primed and ready to shoot at Guilliman to basically burst him down didn't get to shoot at him. So instead we shot at the Executioner and dropped him down to 1 wound and killed an aggressor. With that out of the way, the Satan tried to chunk down Guilliman as much as he could, had some very bad rolls on the Satan powers, and then charged Guilliman and did 1 point of damage, even with ignoring invulnerables due to Entropic Strike. And that more or less wraps up a pretty rough turn for the Satan against Guilliman. Guilliman swung back, killed the Scarab immediately, and also decked out 3 damage onto the Satan. With that all said and done, I scored 10 points for primary for holding the 2 objective markers in the back line. I scored 2 additional points for Purge the Vermin, because 1 table quarter is completely untouched. And then scored 2 victory points for Raise the Banners High, as my 2 banners got placed at the start of the command phase. Guilliman denied me 2 more points of Purge the Vermin, so I'm going to do my best to kill him next turn. But let's see how that goes. Top of round 3 up next.
Alright, end of turn 3 for the Ultramarines. Guilliman fell back from combat against the Satan Shard to open it up to all of the gunfire to try to kill it this turn, and we successfully did, because it can only lose 3 wounds per phase. So I dealt 3 wounds in the shooting phase, and then charged it with Calgar and the Intercessors, but Calgar was enough with his Gauntlets of Ultramar to take it down. Again, used the Power of Machine Spirit on the Repulsor Executioner to put it at its top bracket with the Tech Marine at a 2+ ballistic skill. Took out the last 4 heavy Locust Destroyers. So now all the anti-tank fire is gone. The Honor Guard are making a push to the far corner objective. This lone Devastator Sergeant is still locked in combat with those Scarabs over there near the drop pod. But it's looking very dire for the Necrons. As for secondaries, I scored 3 points for Assassinate and added Mortality to thin their ranks. And that is it for Ultramarines turn 3.
Alright, Necrons, turn 3.
We never resolved that combat. So we forgot to resolve the combat in the little corner there because we were focused so much on Calgar just like punching the Satan to death. So we're going to do alternating activations and see if the Scarabs can wipe out the Lone Devastator. So looking for 4s. 6s are auto wounds, so we got 1 save to go through, and I'm gonna double check right after this to make sure. One of those was 2. Then 2 more saves. 3 saves go through.
See if he makes it. He's alive.
He can punch back, see if he can kill Scarab.
Get 2 attacks back. Hitting on 4s for this Power Fist. He'll hit 1. Needs a 2. This is 2 damage.
Kills the Scarab.
Kills the Scarab base.
And reanimation? Nope.
Alright, now on to Necron's turn 3. Here we go.
So it is the bottom of round 3, and the Necrons are having a very not good time. So the Scarab in the back corner here got immediately obliterated by the Power Fist, and the Overlord tried to charge Guilliman after the Warriors fired as much as they could. Did some damage, but Guilliman is a Primarch, and the Overlord is, well, an Overlord. And so Guilliman is left with 2 wounds remaining, and is now going to wreak havoc on the remaining 13 models that I have. So with that said, it's very unlikely we're going to actually reach around 5 for the Necrons. It's very unlikely we'll reach around 4 for the Necrons. But in terms of scoring at the bottom of round 3, I am at 20 for the primary, because I scored holding this objective and this objective. And I've additionally scored 2 more points for Raise the Banners High, but have been fully denied While We Stand We Fight, and have been effectively fully denied Purge the Vermin, now that it's unlikely that I'll have 1 whole table quarter to myself. So with that, we're going to play out round 4 and see how it goes from there.
Ultramarines, turn 4. Here we go.
Cool. Alright, end of battle round 4 for the Ultramarines. We scored 15 points on primary for holding 4 objectives. Then just push forward, even though it's along their tactical doctrine, with as little as was left. The lone Devastator took out the Crypto Thrall with his grav gun. Then the aggressors, with no one in blocking the Plasmancer, shot him off the table. Guilliman moved forward, shot at some warriors, and then charged the Hexwraith Destroyer, cutting him down. But the Hexwraith made a valiant last stand in Overwatch, dealing 1 damage, bringing him to 1 wound remaining. And then the Intercessors killed some of the warriors, but then it was the MVP of the game, the Repulsor Executioner with Power of the Machine Spirit and the Tech Marine to finish the job. The Ultramarines have purged the Xenos off of this tombworld.
Okay.
Game.
The other thing I was thinking was, I was hoping the Overlord plus the Blob Warriors over there could deep strike back in the back line and then be a distraction for a while. But by then the Satan was already dead. Because what I wanted to do is do the deep strike and then probably with just like an auto wound stratagem kill the repulsor. That did not happen. So there are a few tactical blunders. The one that I'm most annoyed about is the Scarab that didn't fall back. He committed too hard. Couldn't shoot at you. But yeah.
Necrons don't retreat.
Necrons don't retreat, they're absolutely fearless.
They just advance in the opposite direction. At least you don't phase out anymore.
Yep. I hated that. Oh, gosh, that rule. That was gone in the 5th edition Codex, right? I know the 3rd edition Codex had that whole like phase out thing where like if enough models die, it's just like everything just goes away and you're like, okay, bye.
If you had 25% left on the table, you disappear.
Yep. Congratulations.
But you were fearless.
So you couldn't do that whole like running back to the table legend slowly dying kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Or however that played. I have vague memories of like 4th and 5th edition where I definitely did not play the game correct at all by any measure of metrics. But yeah. Yeah.
So you guys prepping for any more tournaments?
So I played at a Rogue Trader tournament last week, and picked up one. Then ended up getting because we had 9 people, so the second round I was the one that didn't have a game, so I played a practice match against Custodes, and then I lost the first, picked up the last. Trying a very similar version of this list, I don't think I actually changed anything. Yeah, because I updated this list prior to us playing here today to match the Rogue Trader Tournament list. So
You getting ready for one in the future, though, right?
I'm going to be hitting the Renegades Summer GT that they're hosting at Fantasy Flight Games. I'm not sure if I'm going to bring Necrons to it, to be honest, though, because by then I only have a few models left on my Death Guard queue, and my Death Guard are going to be not very competitive, but I like how I've painted them more. And because I won't have the Silent King done by then, I have more Charian that I've painted that I really want to just like field on the table for a bit. So either that or I'm going to field 1,000 Suns that I've had just gathering dust from 7th edition and seeing how they do.
How about you, Miles? You gonna go to any tournaments?
No.
No tournaments?
No tournaments for me. Just a casual.
There's something fun about getting your teeth kicked in at a tournament.
No,
It's not actually fun. It's sort of like you learn to hate yourself enough to enjoy it.
I also like playing fun lists and gimmicky lists. Even though like this kind of seems like old meta, this list, but it's like, well, this is actually just only what I had.
It's cool to see a list without like an army of like Blade Guard veterans or Eradicators. Just like, oh boy, I'm not looking at like 6 multi-melta equivalent shots like turn 1 just coming at me. Instead I have a giant tank to deal with, oh boy, okay. Yeah, no. I like it. I like the Intercessors. I like seeing a painted Ultramarines army. This was fun. It's cool. The scheme's so similar to like the ones that they had for like the 8th edition like box set and stuff. And I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm playing against like the actual like ones they use for the photos. Like it's like it all matches the box art, which I like. Except Guilliman, but like.
Well, like I mentioned off camera several times, it's fun to see an actually painted Ultramarines army.
Yeah.
Completely, because most people field it with, a squad of gray here, or I didn't get around to painting that tank yet, or something. I mean, there's always some reason of why it's not fully painted. So it's nice to see a fully painted Ultramarines army.
And Ultramarines instead of Iron Hands, or here are my blue Iron Hands and my green Blood Angels, because those are the rules I want to run, and ignore the little iconography on the shoulders.
Right.
It's like hard committed Ultramarines.
Yeah, Guilliman has the white armor because I was playing him with my white scars. Because he buffed all Imperium stuff. Like hard buffs, Ultramarines, and like does like a soft buff for Imperium, but now that's changed. So
Sounds like you need to get a second Guilliman to
make him blue.
Or being like what is that movie? The 40-year-old version. Tonight I'm gonna paint your pants blue. He's got the goggles on and the whole deal. I'm like, oh my god, that's so me. When I first saw that movie, I just fell over laughing. I'm like, that is actually what I do on Saturday night. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've normally run a regular impulsor or repulsor with Calgar, the Honor Guard, and a squad of Ingressors inside.
Yeah.
Because it just moves up and then they can jump out. And I actually thought about putting things in the Executioner, but I figured they'd be better off on just the table. Aggressors being slow, they do put out a volley of shots, and Ultramarines having that extra AP in the tactical doctrine helps a lot. They do have power fists if they ever get into close combat, but they don't. Their downside is that they're slow. Otherwise, they're pretty good. I am currently painting, or not currently painting. I have started painting an impulsor with a shield dome, which is the invuln.
Okay. Is the Impulsor the transport?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is the transport, and it has lightning disembarkation or assault vehicle where it can move, and then the guys inside get out, but they can't charge.
Okay.
With a 14-inch move, with aggressors inside, you can just move 14, have them dump out, and then they just fire all their bullets.
Yeah.
And then it just acts as a rhino. And it has 2 storm bolters and a heavy stubber, so it still has some small arms fire, which is kind of nice. Currently we're working on for Ultramarines, and then one for White Scars, which the one for the White Scars plan is Khan and 5 Blade Guard vets inside of the Impulsor to zoom around. But as for this game, the only thing I might change from this list, I mean, having 2 named characters and is a little wonky, but the thing that Ultramarines really needs with all these intercessors is having all of those rerolls for hits and wounds, because then it makes your intercessors with bolt rifles at -2 AP can actually kill things that have T5 or greater. And also, like, the primary attack Marine giving +1 ballistic skill to the Executioner, and then Power of the Machine Spirit, having it hit on 2s is really, really gross. Especially the Laser Destroyer. But I mean, it is a heavy command point investment. If like I had to use it 3 turns in a row, that's 6 command points. But the thing with Ultramarines is, like, starting the game with 15 is so much, and then if you get rid of Guilliman and just have Calgar, you start the game with 14, and you have that 5-up, get a command point back.
Yeah.
So it kind of off balances that. So yeah, Ultramarines characters are really strong. Tigurius is another prospect because he has a shroud of -1 to hit things that he gets to pick. But yeah, for changing this list, I would probably drop the 2 Power Fists from the Intercessor squad, as they didn't really do a whole lot, and make the Tech Marine a Master of the Forge, which then he can, instead of D3 wounds being healed, it is a flat 3 wounds, and he can have a Warlord trait to heal twice in a turn, which you can spend the command points to give him a Warlord trait because he's not a named character, and then he can sit there and heal lots of things. He also buffs core, so Redemptor Dreadnoughts are really strong with him too. Or no, not core. Not the Seal of Oath relic that I gave him. His core units get to reroll all hit and wound rolls at a target that's specific in the beginning of the game, which that affects Redemptor Dreadnoughts.
Okay.
So I have seen a lot of lists where it's a Primaris Tech Marine with the Seal of Oath from Ultramarines next to 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, and then whatever he picks, those 2 get to reroll all hit and all wound rolls against that target.
That sounds disgusting.
Which Redemptor Dreadnoughts are the Dreadnoughts to have right now, especially with the plasma.
Yeah. If I had to make list changes, I think first and foremost, I've said this literally every single time I played a game with this list or with Necrons, I need to stop running while we stand, we fight. Especially if one of them is a flyer I plan on kamikazing in. Because that means that at the start of round 2, I've already lost 5 of the 15 that I can possibly get. And then the Satan eventually is probably going to fall by just being the distraction that he is. And the Blob of 20 Warriors needs to get in so close with the Reapers that I can't just, like, have them sit in a backfield and guarantee me 5 points while holding an objective safely. So I've said it like 8 times in a row, I'm going to say it 9 times in a row, and I'm going to eventually find like a secondary I actually like to replace it. I need to get rid of it. The Locust Heavy Destroyers did work. I don't think they did enough work. So I think swapping them out for a Doomstalker and swapping the Plasmancer out for like a Chronomancer or even a Technomancer would help out. Because if I can keep those blobs of warriors to be like the durable bricks that I need them to be, I could contest you more on like the midfield there with the aggressors. Because the blob of 20 didn't even get to shoot by the time they got wiped out. And part of that was just like so many attacks I barely got to make a save, or I was making a 6-up instead of being able to rely on like a 5-up invulnerable. And so the Chronomancer would have definitely helped there. Especially because like I want to say 260 points, I'll look it up again later, that I put on like the Doom Scythe just isn't worth the once volley of fire that you can do before dying immediately. So I think around like that heavy support list selection, I'd be better off maybe looking at like a Scorpic Destroyer squad, because I can give them like a squad of 6 that can run up really fast, and the Chronomancer gives them the 5-up invulnerable, and I can give them -1 to wound with the Stratagem, and they can mulch through Primaris and mulch through really just about anything short of like super heavy armor without much problem. Especially if I get cheeky and have like the little Plasma Sight follow them along for the bonus as well. I think that ends up being one of the biggest issues that I had. I also, as much as I liked the command point regeneration from Sotek, I don't think that the rapid fire range was particularly helpful. I think if I had like objectives secured on the Scarabs, they'd be even scarier. I think that might have been the better. Like going with a custom dynasty trait might have been better, because then I'd hold the objective against Guilliman, which would have actually gotten me more on primary for the end of the game. That also would have made the Scarabs scarier in that like they'd be even less ignorable. And I could try to like just keep you busy long enough for the Satan to like deal out enough morals to jump into the fray. That 1 damage that the Satan dealt, that was very underwhelming too.
That was very unfortunate.
The other thing is swapping out the Transcendent Satan for like the Nightbringer or even the Void Dragon would have worked out better in that case, because the Void Dragon can also benefit from the 2 command point strat for the, what is it, like the Disintegrating Strike or whatever it's called, to ignore invulnerables. But the Void Dragon also has like the tentacle limbs to do additional attacks. So in theory, I could actually have higher damage output with the Void Dragon than I would otherwise.
So we'll see the Void Dragon soon?
Soon, once I finish painting the last of the Necron Warriors I have, I'm going to go finish my Death Guard. At that point, I'll probably pick up the Void Dragon and finish my Silent King. Then I'll have a markedly different list than what I'm having right now.
Then the flayed ones.
Oh, one day, 20 flayed ones will be on this channel. Probably not for a while, though. Maybe 5 flayed ones in a while. Yeah. That's what I got.
You guys got anything else about the game?
It was a good game. It was interesting. I liked this terrain. Like, you weren't kidding about like the glowing green terrain looking nice on the table.
Yeah, it's got the vibe to it. You know, normally you'd paint it, but I'm actually not going to paint that because it just has the color that I would already try to get on it anyway.
Not even glowy effects on the sigils.
No, I've seen everybody paint theirs with like that glowing deal on it, and to me that just looks cheesy. It doesn't look right. Because what it ends up doing
Don't
is
tell Thomas that.
It depends. So if it's like a dark black and they paint the glowing thing on it, I just think it offsets it too much where it doesn't look right.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like you're trying to get it to do that. If you do, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm just babbling, but for me, I don't know. I like it the way it is. I thought about hitting it with the airbrush in a few spots, but then once you go down that road, then that's the road you go down, basically. Yeah. And so really, color-wise, to offset it, what I would do on the table in general is those crystals. I wanted to get more of those crystals because I like the way they offset with the other green. Unfortunately, the company that I got those from, I was actually expecting those crystals to be way bigger than they are. They don't charge you a lot for them, so I got, it was like $25, but still, I was expecting them to be a little larger than they actually are. Just picture-wise to me, when I looked at them, that I thought they would be bigger.
Yeah.
So now I just need to buy a lot more of them to have that color kind of offset on the table. And in the future, like I said, we're going to print out the gatehouse with the obelisks, and then there's some ruined walls. And so all of that, you'll see sometime in the future, because we're printing out a ton of stuff for an apocalypse game that's going to happen at some point. So, yeah, that's in the future.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Well, good game. Let's wrap it up here. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, join the horde, and we will see you in the next one.